Hi, I'm Ria. I started struggling in school once I moved to secondary. I didn't know what's wrong. I just kept thinking I wasn't well. So I went to the doctors one day and they asked me if I was anxious and I said no. So they sent me back home. Then once I got home, I burst into tears and I told my dad that I was anxious and they took me back to the doctors and diagnosed me with anxiety and depression. Then school got harder. Once I was 14, I completely left school, stopped going altogether. It wasn't just mentally taking its toll on me, it was physically as well. You could tell that I was struggling just to stay awake or to just be in a room with certain people. It was like getting put in a room with your worst fear and having to stay there for 6 hours. I remember walking to school in the morning and I just didn't want to be there. Because the closer you got to the door, the worse you felt. Once you were in, you just started like excessive sweating. You didn't really know why. You were just like, oh, it must just be warmer in this school. But really there was a reason behind it. You thought you were just coming down with something, you're just not feeling well, just having a bad day. But then it turns out that every day in school was a bad day. The teachers didn't have a clue what was going on. But I had it well. Like, I just acted as if I was fine. Just sat at the back of the class, made sure I'd done my work, didn't speak much, just tried to go unnoticed. The first year, dealing with anxiety was the hardest. I stayed in the house all the time, didn't leave unless it was to go to a doctor's or psychologist appointment, and it was a struggle. I would be ill before I went. I wouldn't want to get out of bed in the morning. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, and this went on for a full year until I found out that 16 plus could help. After a year of not being at school and not doing anything with myself, my school contacted me saying they had an interview for 16 plus and they could come out to my house because I wasn't comfortable going to the centre. They told me that I could start some activity agreements, which sounded good at the time, but a little hard because I wasn't used to being in groups of people. I felt uncomfortable. I took up the offer to start 16 plus because I felt pressured by my family. It was making them upset and seeing me like that, so I just decided that I would try for them. It started off that I could just go for as long as I could. Like, I could go for 2 hours, even though it's 4. But I'd always try and stay an extra 15 minutes, and my coaches would encourage me to try and stay longer. But if I couldn't, they'd let me go home. I started an activity agreement called PX2, and at the start I had to get a taxi there. It was too hard for me to get on a bus or get a train, so they paid for me to get a taxi every day. And I'd only go in for as long as I could. I'd always try and stay the full time, but if I only went in for an hour, they'd try and convince me to stay, and most of the time I would. But if I had to go home because I felt if I felt too sick, because obviously I still had all the symptoms, I wasn't used to it yet. I just felt awful some days that I just had to go home. So I always had that comfort there that I could go home. So it made me want to stay longer, because they were helping me out. And it was just a group of 4 people. And it helped me with the social side. It was just a small group. And once I got there, I started to realise that people were worse off than me. I wasn't as bad as other people. So I started to notice myself help others. Like, I was taking charge and leading others to do well. Once you start, it does seem a bit rubbish and you're like, this is pointless. But if you keep going, you start to find out that it actually is helping. PX2 was about your mindset, Like if you told yourself you were tired, you would be tired. So you had to tell yourself you weren't tired, and it would help, because your body does what your brain thinks. But after the course, I had realised I had changed my mindset. I was thinking differently. I was starting to help myself more. But if you just show up to the activity agreements and just sit there, it's not really going to help. You actually need to show up and try and take part, or you're not going to get anywhere. And if you suffer from anxiety like me, everybody always says it just takes time. But I waited a year to get better, and then once I started forcing myself, I started to see a change. So time doesn't change it. Forcing yourself to do better does. After my PX2 activity agreement, I moved on to an activity agreement called Connect 2, and this was a group of 10 people, so it was like adapting me to more people, like to get used to it. I started to do things that were like my old self. I'd go rock climbing. During my activity agreement Connect 2, I met a coach called Davey. He was a personal trainer at the side, so I could relate to him because I'm into sports and I wanted to get back into it, because once I left school, I just stopped everything and got really unfit. So he was trying to help me get back into it. He was supportive, but he was firm. Like, he would tell you honestly what he thought, even if you didn't want to hear it. After my Connect 2 activity agreement, Davey got me an interview for pre-coach corps, and it was like a course on sports coaching, and it was just like to get you used to the workplace and how to act in the workplace. So I went to my interview for that, and on the day I was standing in the queue just about to go in, and I thought to myself, I can't do this. So I started texting my coaches, panicking, saying, I can't do this, I'm not going in. But they texted me a long message so that by the time I had read the message, it was time to go in. So I went in. Then about a week later, I found out that I had got in to the pre-coach corps. So that was a 6-week course. I got an interview for the coach corps apprenticeship. So by this point, I was more confident. I was ready for my interview. I got in. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm coaching. It's 15 hours training, 15 hours coaching, and then I do stuff like disabled swimming lessons. I've worked at the Davis Cup. I've done holiday camps. I do netball sessions, rugby sessions and hockey sessions so far, but they'll add more in as they come. By the time I started Coach Corps, I started to realise that I was doing things for myself and not for others. I was doing it to make me happy, not to make others happy. I started to notice that my family were happier. It was less stress on them. They didn't need to worry about me when they went out, because I was out as well. They didn't nag me to get up in the morning, because I was usually up before them and out the house ready to go, and that made a big difference. In the future, I hopefully see myself working with children, because working with children and working in sport, it's my two favourite things, so putting them both together would just be amazing. Basically what I'm doing right now, but as a career. If you're offered an activity agreement, I would take it. Don't hesitate, because it might not seem like it at the time, but it really does help. You need to just go for it, force yourself, and through time, you'll start to realise that it's helping and you'll get better. Through everything I've been through, the biggest thing I've learned is nobody can help you unless you want to help yourself.